All right. First of all, thank you to organizers for inviting me to this event to share with you our views on smart cities and then the more recent opportunities as a result of the 45-year plan. And what does it mean to the innovation and technology development here in the GBA? So a couple of things that I would like to share with you, including the smart city and the latest international trends. So to give us some context for the development of smart city in the region, and then we talk a bit about the 45-year plan and GBA and their opportunities. And then the last bit is talking about the new infrastructure. So what does it mean to us, and what are the opportunities that will bring us? Right. So typically we start with what is a smart city. So everybody have very different views. Some say it's a city that have big data, that use IoT, or it's an innovative city, a learning city, a connected city. If we have 20 people here, we will have 60 or 80 ideas of what a smart city is. So hopefully after the presentation, you will know, why we need to do a smart city, and then what are the key attributes of a smart city that give you a context. So we do smart city is not just because we want to turn it smart. We actually do it for a purpose, right? Governments and other companies are increasingly recognize that we have a lot of city problems, city challenges. Our chief executive mentioned something like a double aging problem, aging population and aging infrastructure. And actually, we face a lot more challenges than this, right? We have poor air quality, heat island, and then every one of you will realize that we actually have an increased frequency and severity of extreme events, extreme weather events. So resilience is definitely something that we need to bear in mind. Okay, so I start with what is smart city, and actually there's no one official definition of smart city, right? And so we, from our perspective, a smart city is the one that leverages innovation, technology, and data to deliver citizen-centric services with due regard to the environment and resources. So there's a couple of keywords that I would like to draw your attention. The first one is, of course, citizen-centric. We want to deliver our city services in a citizen-centric manner to actually help to achieve better quality of living or a better business environment, etc. And then the second point that I want to talk about is innovation and technology. They are two completely different concepts, right? Some people tend to mix them together, becomes an innovative technology. But we actually see a lot more forms of innovation. You can have business innovation, you can have a business model innovation, you can have process innovation. And innovation does not necessarily to have very advanced technology. It can be innovative use or application of existing technologies, existing software, etc. to achieve new results. Okay. So a smart city includes innovative technology and innovation itself. So the attributes of a smart city is collaboration. We're talking about, for instance, allow public sector, private sector to work together to produce certain innovative results. We talk about co-creation. So it's not always from top down. We actually need to engage stakeholders so that we can develop services that fit for purpose. We are connected city, so through IoTs or others, to allow data to be completely transparent, to be real-time or almost real-time, to be made available to the public. We're talking about dynamic. We are not dealing with historical data. We can use dynamic data, real-time data, to make our decision, to help with the city management. And we talk about innovation, technology, and also data. But all of that should be centered around a citizen-centric mindset. So I've seen some international trends and observations that I want to share with you. I put it, in ABCDEF under the ABCDEF categories. Accelerated pace. I'm sure you're all aware that every city is competing to become smarter, to attract more talents, more foreign direct investments into a city. B is the business case, that the government and businesses are trying very hard to find a business case for the smart city initiatives, to quantify benefits, and then to find the most efficient way of operating that. Cybersecurity, everybody knows, is important. Is the foundation where all the electronic transactions or interactions are done. And more events, we all know in the States there are some events that related to cybercrime. And then differentiation. I remember maybe 2 years ago when I went to the Smart City Summit in Barcelona. I walked into an exhibition hall, and in the exhibition hall there's maybe 10 to 20 booths from different cities. When you walk into every one of them, you will see almost the same thing, which is smart lamppost, which is city dashboard. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, what's the differentiation? Why technology has so much flexibility, but end up with the same kind of applications? So that's differentiation that many cities now are well aware of and trying to make their cities differentiate from others. Okay. Ecosystem, we need to have support from academics, startups, enterprises, academics, to come up with a healthy ecosystem in order to compete with other areas. Obviously we are talking about supply and demand, right? There's a demand for new technology, for better services, and there's a supply. But more than that, we are looking to export our knowledge, export smart city as an industry to other regions. For instance, Hong Kong as a relatively developed cities and a lot of old buildings, we actually have quite a bit of startup working on the automated way of examining the buildings, retrofitting, etc. Imagine in the GBA, a lot of cities are relatively new, but after 10 years, 15 years, they will face the same challenge as Hong Kong. At that time, you can see that, okay, all the services and products developed for Hong Kong at that time would be applicable to other places. Okay. So it's important to develop a whole ecosystem. The last bit, of course, is money, financing. How do we use innovative financing? Later, I will talk about green financing as well as a means to encourage innovation in the green field to make our planet more sustainable. Okay, so that's a very brief introduction of Smart City. It's a lot more than that. Smart City, almost you can talk about is everything under the sun. But I hope that will give you a context that then we can discuss how the GBA can become a smart region. Okay. So the 14 five-year plan actually to us is, well, we are very excited about that because it's talk about economic growth through city development, which is one of the key objectives. Of course, there's other objectives like the education, like the healthcare, but today I mainly focus on the so-called new infrastructure and the city development, which is related to the key topics of today. So in the five-year plan, the cities and city cluster will play a vital role in terms of regional integration and economic growth. When we talk about regional integration, is talking about economic integration, but when you do that, when you have that integration, it also entails a lot of maybe data flow, traffic flow, people flow. So data and the communication is actually a key to that. And if you think about the government plans to rise the population of urban residents to 65% of the population, you can imagine the increasing demand in public facilities, increasing demand in communication infrastructure, and increasing demand in city management. So a lot of opportunities for industry players to contribute to make that to make the development a smart one. And what does it mean by 65% of the population to become a permanent urban residents? Is for the next 5 years, every year you have 10 million to 11 million of people moving into the city, right? So it's more than the whole population in Hong Kong. And at the same time, they are starting to look at, apart from the people resources, they're also talking about the physical infrastructure, the 5G adoption, and then the new infrastructure plan, which amounts to around 610 billion RMB, which in the last section I will talk a little bit more about the new infrastructure. Okay. So a lot of cities are going through renewal. Renewal, apart from the physical infrastructure, is also talking about the information infrastructure, about the renewal. And that slide just give you a brief idea of what are the amount of investment that the central government is going to put in the next 5 years to get many of the old cities regenerated. Okay. So that presents opportunities not only in terms of the traditional civil engineering contractors, but also in terms of information infrastructure. Now the government, or many of the government, they're well aware that when you develop a physical infrastructure, you need to concurrently develop your information infrastructure so that they both can generate synergies. So just to summarize some of the urbanization or city opportunities under the 5-year plan, the first one is, rather than quantity, now the central government is looking a lot more on quality development, right? Quality developments, high quality, coordinated, and innovation and technology enabled development. That's what they meant by high quality development. They focus on key cities to create city clusters, and then to radiate the experience and resources to support other cities to grow. And then the new infrastructure and rural revitalization, regional development, redevelopment, they are critical for expanding domestic investment and consumption, but at the same time, set up a good foundation for a smart city. Smart city not only are talking about technology, but we're also talking about climate resilience and low carbon, which China has pledged to reach the carbon top at 2030, and then carbon neutral at 2060. So it's actually challenging. So a lot more. Not only when you build the infrastructure, you need to consider that, but actually when you operate for the next 20, 30 years, you need to have technology tools to help you efficiently manage your buildings, manage your infrastructures, reduce carbon. The last bit is the new financing model. You all heard about REIT, and the Chinese government has approved the use of REIT on public infrastructure. So want to release the potential of the public infrastructure in the short and medium term. Okay, so now bring closer to the GBA. So this is a quote directly lifted from the development plan. I would like to emphasize just a couple of keywords: an economic system. So it's not focusing just on a particular sector, particular industry. The government wants the benefits of innovation technology to spill over and cover across the whole economic systems. Okay. The second keyword, of course, is innovation. The last bit is international competitiveness. So we want to draw on international expertise, either on smart city or innovation development to develop the GBA. So the key idea that we have about GBA is we don't want 11 smart cities in the GBA. We want only one smart region in the GBA. 11 smart cities, your synergy will be within your city, but we see that the maximum synergies will be between cities and form in a region. And only by doing this, we can compete with other Bay Areas, like the Tokyo Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. That's the only way that we can compete. So we need to do a couple of things, like to collaborate on objectives, a common development goals and framework, coordination, and then data sharing. And the last bit, of course, is to set the AI strategies, and which has very wide application, including security, etc., which I'm sure the next speaker, Taylor, will talk a bit more. Okay, the last part of my slide, I'm almost, I know I'm almost time, is the new infrastructure. The new infrastructure plan is announced in April 2020. Mainly at that time is because of the need for economic recovery after the pandemic or during the pandemic. But we see that is more than that. When you build an infrastructure, it's going to operate for the next 10, 20, 30 years. How do you build it efficiently and build it future-proof that can support the development of a smart city? So that's why we are very excited about the infrastructure plan. And the other one that I want to briefly mention is China standards. In a smart city, basically, is very important to set standards. Otherwise, you can't communicate, you can't coordinate, you can't share data. So getting your hands on setting standard will be crucial. New infrastructure plan have 7 key areas like 5G, AI, big data, But the thing is, it's actually also include physical infrastructure like the charging station, power transmission, intercity transportation, etc. But the key thing is, how do you mix them together? The physical and the information infrastructure, how do you mix them in order to improve the operations, the management of a city? So there's 3 sections that we see is under the new infrastructure. It has information infrastructure that you typically expect of, like IoT, AI, 5G. But you also have mixed infrastructure, that means the physical plus the information infrastructure together to make the city more efficient. And then not to forget that we have resources, human capital that is also a very key infrastructure on its own. A quick slide to show the key areas of new infrastructure in GBA. So the cities in GBA are gearing towards becoming a smart city through implementation of the infrastructure development. For Shenzhen, a 5G smart city, they want to be a mega city, a gigabit city in 5G and the industry IoT, which is ambitious. But if like in 2-3 years later, that becomes almost like a hygiene factor. All right, it's essential. All right. So the last slide basically is about the new infrastructure. Just want to recap why we think that is very important in terms of smart city, also in terms of the other development. First of all, it's an economic driver, and then it helps build smart infrastructure that support the development of a smart region. And then the last bit is help drive the digital transformation in the region to make our region truly a citizen-centric and a smart one. Okay.
Probably the most common phrase you've heard since the beginning of the pandemic. Can you hear me clearly? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Albert, for a very insightful presentation on smart cities and infrastructure. My presentation is going to hop in a little bit. He talks about big plans, governments, public sector. I will focus a little bit on enterprises a little bit more, but it's infrastructure nevertheless. In particular, is network, something that as CPC we know very well. And I want to share about how we, to complement the journey of digitization of all the enterprises, how we evolve our services. In particular on the network side, we have to add in artificial intelligence, make our services smarter, to serve our customers better, in order to support the enterprise's digitization needs. Okay, just a bit of background. Digitization is a trend, it's an irreversible trend, it's definitely happening. It's largely in the last few years and in the next decades or so, will be driven by more intense use of technology such as artificial intelligence and applications that are based around artificial intelligence and other enabling technologies such as robotics, 5Gs, Internet of Things, etc., etc. To support all this though, there are two big trends that will emerge. One is the proliferation of connectivity and the demand of connectivity. A lot more things will become connected. So this will require any enterprises to establish a well-connected fundamental network infrastructure to support that growth. Second is the integration. By integration, I mean actually a couple of dimensions. I mean the integration of technology with a business's operation. I also mean the integration of different technologies which were previously even siloed that has to be combined and flattened within the organization. So that's not just a technology challenge, it's also a business workflow, it's also an organization challenges. And with all this, hopefully we'll see a lot of reinvention of technologies, of the way how businesses are being run in the future. That would be obviously the holy grail that we all want to see in this room. As I mentioned, to support all this beautiful vision, the infrastructure, the foundation is important. And today I want to focus on the connectivity part. And before I go into this slide, I just want to say the way we support this transition is we also have to evolve our network infrastructure offering. The key word is SD-WAN, Software Development WAN, which is an evolution of the traditional WAN technology, obviously. We launched this about two and a half years ago. Take-up has been very, very happy to report that take-up has been quite enormous, quite pleasant. But I also have to confess, with the transition into an SD-WAN, in order to service our customers, it becomes more difficult, it creates more challenges for us, and we have to evolve with the technology and with our customers. The traditional network and the traditional way of managing the network simply is not sufficient to support the new digital operation because it is passive. You only get told that there is a problem, but when there is a problem, there's already people shouting, right? The analysis is static. Your network becomes a lot more dynamic, and is always dynamic. But historically, the way we look at network is very static. Is it on? Is it off? Is it the capacity? You analyze the capacity on a monthly, or maybe if you're good, bi-monthly basis. There is a very strong focus on just looking at the connectivity itself, but not what is inside, especially not from an application perspective. Way of looking at how we can better manage the ICT infrastructure. And the way to utilize artificial intelligence and analytics to better manage infrastructure is that you need to do very active recognition of what is going on, establish a model of digital twin, if you would like to call that, through dynamic monitoring, correlation of events. So this is a core. You need to establish a digital twin of the underlying infrastructure and model it and track it diligently. Once you have the digital twin, another angle that I want to bring in is the business application perspective. So previously we only look at a pipe, whether the pipe is flowing, is full, or is broken. Pretty much that's the three states that you have. But in reality, you need, in order to support the new digital operation, which is everything is application driven, you need to look at even the infrastructure from a business perspective. And I'll show some examples later on. Right? So these are the key things. You need to establish a digital twin. You need to look at the traffic from a business application perspective. ICT-MIND is it's a concept, right? We are developing something that we're calling it ICT-MIND. Hopefully it's bigger than just managing the infrastructure. But at the first stage, we're trying to use analytics to better manage the infrastructure through a number of key design pillars. One of them is an analysis on application-based performance. Okay, some of you may ask, how is it different from the application performance monitoring software that are around? The way we look at it is more from the infrastructure level, but not from the, so that will help as part of the application performance monitoring or management practices. So we even look at the network from an application kind of angle. Obviously, we need to use a lot of artificial intelligence. We do a lot of correlation analysis, and what we aim at is to be able to alert events that could happen before it happens by preemptively sending out the alarms, and suggest to our customers how to do better capacity planning through optimization, right? So the lovely charts in the middle are samples of what we're currently able to do. As I mentioned, the key thing is about establishing the baseline of the digital twin of your current network. So these are all lovely charts, but essentially what we're able to do today is if a customer is willing to share the data with us, what we can do is monitor and track the traffic flow across multiple points. If you have 10 network points, we will monitor the traffic flow across 10 by 10, it's not 100, right? It's more than that. All the flow by application, we will monitor it, we will establish a baseline as your digital twin, and detect any anomaly. So one of the customers that we work with, it's actually extremely cyclical, the network traffic pattern. Every Monday morning, the people log in, there are lots of VCs regular meeting, and all this baseline, once it's established, you can track how they evolve for the purpose of capacity planning, obviously. And you will also monitor the performance of particular traffic for certain applications. VC, again, is a very, very good example. When the VC traffic degrades, before it gets to a point where your boss can no longer communicate with you and start shouting, you should receive an alert. You should be able to have options to reroute some of the traffic. You should be able to still go home without getting shouted at. That's the whole point of having that digital twin and a baseline. I've just covered that. Another option that we will enable through the use of artificial intelligence is optimal path planning, which is we look at how the traffic from different applications flow through different routes, because the modern enterprise network uses multiple underlay connectivity technologies. You use mobile 4G, 5G, you use your business broadband, you use your MPLS network, private network, all sorts of connectivity. How you decide which applications should go through which technology is always an optimization problem. And it changes, especially when you run things through internet. The internet performance it can be very good at some time of the day. It can be terrible at some time of the day, and you can't tell, right? So the optimal path planning is another key features that we're developing to help our customers to dynamically do their routing and optimize that to sustain the operational performance. I think that the underlying logic is best illustrated with the charts at the bottom half of the page, because there are business flow, different applications, different users, they are on different sites. There are, the applications themselves are linked up. So the retail POS application will at some point link up to the inventory application. By looking at the application flow, it translates into a network flow to physical locations and how the network from each application flow from one location to another. And the optimal path planning is therefore an additional layer when you've added in the real-time performance of the underlying network. So this is how we're able to achieve that. And it has not been easy to come to just that point, and it's not even a fully complete product. And it took us just over a year. It's not too bad. And it all started off with one of our banking and finance customers, right? We installed that smart infrastructure for them, and they started asking questions, or rather, our customers also start asking them questions. They wanted to understand how data flow from one side to another. And you see this first diagram. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse pointer, which is a map of China with a lot of yellow lines. So that customer in particular has probably about 100 sites across China. They want to see how the traffic flows from one site to another and how it changes throughout the week. And what we found out is it's extremely cyclical. This is where we find our first insights. Extremely cyclical, but it gradually grows as well, okay? Once you are able to demonstrate that, customers happy, but then they ask for more. So in a few months' time, we have evolved and have to start working with the customers to establish a predictive model. Because once we noticed the traffic pattern is cyclical, we wanted to start predicting how the traffic pattern will happen to have on the capacity planning. And that's our second stage. If you are familiar with AI, you know that any predictive model requires computing power. And the amount of computing power that you need is exponential. So 99% accurate versus 99.9% accurate is a huge amount of extra computing effort. So by the time we want to fine-tune our predictive model, we realize that we need to use different algorithms. We realize we need to therefore establish a different infrastructure to support the artificial intelligence algorithm, and so on and so forth. So we have to upgrade our underlying analytics infrastructure. Once we've done that, customer again keep asking for more. Instead of just network traffic, they start giving us security logs for us to analyze. For us to give them, so we help them develop an extra little feature based on the logs from their UTMs and firewalls. That feature you may not like to hear. It's about tracking employees' online browsing habit when they're in office. So during lunchtime, if you have shopped for groceries, your boss actually will know. So this is just a warning for you. Just do groceries, don't do anything else. Right. In September last year, we've gone to a stage where we want to further increase our predictive accuracy. So we actually had to redevelop the whole algorithm. And this is again a sharing. It just shows that it's the same thing. In order to push for the accuracy, almost every year or every 6 months, you have to rewrite the whole thing and rebuild your whole thing. That just shows the speed and the way how technology works these days. It's very fast, it evolves very fast. Every 6 months, every 9 months, the whole thing gets scrapped. You have to rebuild in order to keep up with just the demand. Right. So this is where we've got to so far. And by the end of last year, we've decided this is something with traction. And we've started forming this concept called ICT-MIND that I've introduced. We wanted to use AI to support better network maintenance, operations, allow our customers to do better capacity planning, allow our customers to respond to events dynamically and preemptively. Okay. Through looking at different business applications. This is a concept of a product that is under development today. I hope I can show you more when you come in here in our next event. But today, this is the journey that I want to share with you so far. ICT-MIND is one of our multiple innovation projects happening within CPC. You may be familiar with our AR goggles. If not, go and ask one of our staff. It's really cool. We have developed something using an augmented reality goggles to help our customers to do, that may sound boring to some of you, IDC, Internet Data Center maintenance, while they could not enter the data center during the pandemic. That was a real issue that cropped up last year, and we used this to solve the problem because it allows our customers to remotely, through that goggle, simultaneously look at the real situation within the data center, as well as the maintenance information in document. That's the augmented reality part. Further on, we are doing more projects using augmented reality projects, as I was just sharing with some of our guests here. That is, we're leveraging the object recognition capability in augmented reality to help us do better maintenance job and be more efficient in recognizing spare parts. Right, so there are other examples that we're developing. I hope that we'll be able to share with you more once the projects are mature. But today, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Cyrus, as an expert of AI in AI security, how you help the customer in the digital transformation journey?
In recent years, I think it is no longer a surprise for us to see hackers using AI to launch a cyber attack, and that's we call it a offensive AI. This kind of offensive AI, they have a very comprehensive mechanism throughout the whole cyber attack kill chain, and they even can make a automated decision making and some advanced lateral movement that will make them to be less easy to be discovered by the security team when they are embedded to the corporate network. That what means that the hacker will be more easy to access to those sensitive or privacy information that they want to acquire from the victim. So with this, what we have to do is to deploy and adopt to a defensive AI so that we can fight back with such kind of AI launched attack.
So AI as AI.
Yeah, actually, the fight war between AI.
Yeah. Byron, I know Mainetti is a global manufacturer of hangers together with packaging solution. Why you have a business transformation initiative to produce the personal protect equipment together with even you open some physical retail shop in Hong Kong?
Well, I think this is part of the company transformation. First of all, we are doing the business transformation from traditional manufacturing into the intelligent solution with certain kinds of the solution with smart logistics, smart retailing, and smart manufacturing. Due to the COVID, everybody stay at home. Nobody really get the project to move on. So we see the market have a huge demand of PPE by one of our CSR activities of the RFID, Chamber of Trade, Chamber to do donation of the mask. We find that in the market a lot of people is crying for the good quality of the PPE. Due to we need to source for our global group of the company over 10,000 people, so we order a lot of the PPE and masks, but we have been cheated with the fake certificate, poor quality, everybody experienced for that skyly high price. So that's why we're trying to deploy our people to do these kinds of the products for that. So it's also part of the transformation process. Yeah.
Okay, one of the PPE product is masks. I know we prepare a box of masks for each of our guests today called Hong Kong 96. Some fans told me they already have 3 to 4 months stock of masks. I know it is a very innovative product which is different with others. Would you mind to share with us?
Sure. Thank you for advertising time. First of all,
only 20 minutes, only 20 seconds.
First of all we are Hong Kongese, right? The HK96, that means it's totally 100% developed by Hong Kong team of the people. The product itself is all fully manufactured in Hong Kong, even including the nanofiber component. And the most sexy thing for this product is we have been selected for the Hong Kong Olympic team. So all the Hong Kong athletic people, we wear our HK96 to do the sport. What's the most special for this product is, if you feel sick to wearing the surgical mask to do the gym and running, try this product. If you don't feel comfortable, give me a call. I guarantee you have a very extraordinary feeling when you wear this mask to do the sport. After we sending over 10,000 pieces to the Hong Kong Athletic Association, over 95% of athletes, they said that it's the most comfortable mask to doing sports. So try it. If you get a complaint, send it to me. If you don't know my name and telephone number, ask Henry first. And I can help you guys there.
Byron, I will charge you for the additional airtime for advertisement. I know during the business transformation journey, I know you encountered a lot of difficulties in terms of IT operation. Would you mind to name the top one difficulties you encountered?
Yeah, I think the sense of this PPE market, we're trying to do the B2C and B2B, and we even to establish our own flagship store in Timor. And then this is the most people to facing is the digitalization. If you're going to go out to O2O channel, right? So online, offline, you need to have a very strong IT support. Otherwise, you won't make it happen. So I think when you do the retails, the automation, AI, you need to know what product is the good selling, what timing is good to do the promotion, what kinds of the customer, this all data. Without data, you have no idea how you're going to manage the business. So I was saying is to cope with the most dynamic business retail situation, the AI, the IT is crucial. No IT, you don't even able to make any profit at all.
But you only have a very small IT team in Hong Kong.
So that's why we need to rely on partner then. So
which partner?
So like you.
CITIC Telecom CPC, thank you. Okay. With the limited IT resources, Brian mentioned, with Cyrus, share with us how we work together to protect the Mainetti infrastructure from the side effects.
Yeah, actually we have been working with Mainetti for more than a year. We understand that the challenges, like Byron just mentioned, that what will be the lacking of the human resources on IT. Especially they're supporting a multi-regional businesses. During the pandemic, the cases of this scenario even more worse because of maybe about the company-wise work from home arrangement that make their system to be more exposed to potential effects. So what did Darktrace do is we performed a security monitoring functions for Mainettis in a real-time basis, and we helped them to find out all potential threats from both inside or from outside in the machine speed, and also proactively. Also together, we have been partnered with CPC for more than 4 years. I'm very confident that CPC has a strong team that with a well-trained professionals together with their round-the-clock SOC services. I'm sure that they will be able and capable to protect Mainetti's whole business growth to be away from cyber threats, as well as bringing no burden to the IT team.
Let me come to Brian. I know you have a very big production line. You are a pioneer in the industry to implement some automation and checking tools in the production line. Would you like to share more with us and how you justify the ROI?
Well, I think first of all, many people know that in China, you're doing the manufacturing, the labor cost is skyly high. Even you pay for that, you won't be able to get any labor because most of the labor, they more prefer to do the all food takeaway business. They ride the bike, they ride the motorbike, and they make a lot of money. Even we can't find the good people even 2 times or 3 times. And also the only way is the human effort of the manufacturing process is always creates the error. The only way we fix that is using robotic. We have to using the robotic to do the packing, the assortment, automation. It's definitely the trend, and also that's the reason is how we fix the problem. And even in our industry, most of the people they were using the automation with the RFID technology, and in their warehouse used to be 100 of the people to find the good, to allocate the good, and now with the automation, the whole DC may only need 1 or 2 people. And then 1 or 2 people is only a security guard. And then they can run the operation in 24-hour basis. That's the only way for the manufacturing in the future. Digitalization, automation, that's the only way, yeah.
You are really a pioneer in the market. Yeah. Regarding of automation, I know Cyrus, the Darktrace solution also focus on autonomous response by AI. Why is it so important to our customers?
Thanks, Harry, for this question. Another commercial time for me then. Just imagine that with an AI-powered attack, the attack speed would be very fast. It is impossible for a human cybersecurity can handle. Just like ransomware or some malware can just take down your entire network in a few minutes. With this scenario, autonomous response is critical and crucial to help. With this, Darktrace is the only vendor in the market offer the autonomous response module that when we identify threats in real time, we will just neutralize the threats in a second. So that's what we help to help our customers with the IT team to buy time for further remediation actions.
We have very good control of time today. It's coming up already to the last question. I would like to ask both of you how you foresee the trend and development of your industry.
I think, I think it's less people, less human process, and more and more AI will put in place some sort of, even the customer service no longer being handled by human, will be all done by program. These are all the most common question will be all program, rather than we have the customer service to pick up. And it's data to data. Even you produce the product, you must have the very full data to communicate with the customer, yeah.
How about Cyrus?
Now we can see a well adoption in cloud and SaaS environment. So there's an uptrend of attack targeting those SaaS and cloud platforms. So I think SaaS and cloud security will be an upcoming trend. And besides that, we also see email attacks also have a strong impact in the business as well. From latest research, there are more than 94% of attacks starting from an email to the mailbox. So the advanced email security definitely will be the next trend.
Okay, thanks Cyrus. Actually, CPC is also well engaged in the cloud service. We look forward for more engagement with your team. And thanks Byron and Cyrus the time. Let me pass the time to our MC. Thank you.
Thank you.